Not you.
Hey everyone, it's Sean and Hannah, and we are here to do another DC video where we are this time going to dive into some of the things that James Gunn has talked about regarding Superman. We're still all sitting around waiting for the expanded plan of what James Gunn and Peter Safran want to do with the DC films moving forward. But one of the things that he has talked about is Superman and his plans for him, and we do have a couple of details that are specific to his movie in general. So, and while we're waiting for that ultimate plan to come around, we thought this would be a good week for us to sort of go over the details that we know about any pending Superman film and some of James Gunn's secrets that he has shared on social media, because things that he posts tend to mean something somewhere down the line.
He loves a tease, loves a tease.
He does.
He does. And Hannah, why don't you start off by just sort of giving us a rundown of what we know up until this point?
Sure. Okay, so a week ago, I'm gonna kind of like start most recent and go backwards. Actually, no, I'm not. I lied to you. That's not the list. That's not my list order.
God damn it, Nanawe.
But he did say last week, I'll start with this and then go through everything else, that basically no one has been cast as Superman yet, because there were a few rumors that Jacob Elordi from Euphoria was going to be this new young Superman, and he was like, no, I'm still writing the script. I don't cast people until the script is done or close to being done, and it's not.
And then I think also the day before we were recording this video, Chris Pratt said he might follow James Gunn over to DC, and some people started to speculate that Chris Pratt could be his Superman. Did you not see this?
No.
You're learning this in real time?
I knew about like him saying that about Chris Pratt, but I didn't know people thought Chris Pratt is not Superman. What?
Well, you never know, Hannah. Stranger things have happened, and
have they?
You might get
No,
I agree.
That.
It would be a really bad idea to put Chris Pratt in the role of Superman. I don't think that he would be.
He's like the same age as Henry Cavill, basically. So that wouldn't make sense, internet.
Sorry, old chum.
Get it
No, it wouldn't.
together.
Where do you get this nonsense?
Google.
I love a theory, but not that one.
You know more than Google? Well, congratulations.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go through really, really quick. James Gunn said that number one, Superman is a huge priority, if not the biggest priority for DC. We know that James Gunn's Superman will be younger. He said in the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. He has also said that it is not an origin story, and he's said that multiple times because apparently the first time he said it on Twitter, people still didn't believe him. We know that James Gunn is writing the script and it's not done yet. We don't have any word on a director yet, or the cast, obviously. And then we also know that the Superman in his movie will have already met some of the important characters. He replied to somebody on Twitter and said he's not meeting the major characters for the first time either. He's merely younger, which is Adam Holmes, one of the editors on CinemaBlend, pointed out sounds a lot like what Matt Reeves did with the Batman, where Robert Pattinson's Batman already had a relationship with people like Jim Gordon and Joker. James Gunn obviously did not clarify what he meant by major characters, but obviously, educated guess, we can probably assume that means people like Lois Lane, maybe Perry White.
Right.
So that's all that James Gunn has explicitly said about his Superman movie. But I went back through CinemaBlend, like years and years of articles, because he has talked a lot about Superman. Just, I don't know if you remember, but after he got fired from Disney and went to go work for Warner Brothers, they basically said like, hey, do whatever you want. And while he ultimately picked the Suicide Squad, Superman was on the table. And he did make an interesting comment when somebody asked if the Superman that Bloodsport references in the Suicide Squad is Henry Cavill's. Keep in mind, this was in 2021. But he said, yes, the Suicide Squad is a part of the DCEU, but I don't know which Superman it was because I don't cast the next Superman. So it could be Henry Cavill. It could be somebody else. It's whoever people decide on other than me. LOL. Okay. So when Eric did interviews for the Suicide Squad, again, 2021, he asked...
One thing that's amazing about James Gunn as a filmmaker is he just goes into such deep detail when it comes to his storytelling and characters. And I'm curious if just in your conversations with him, were there any details that you discussed that weren't on the page, but that you kind of used as just backstory for your character?
Yeah, for sure. You know, look, there's a whole history as to why why Bloodsport is in jail, and that's related to, you know, trying to kill Superman. And unraveling that, there was lots of stuff that I found out about.
So I don't know. I mean, like, there could very well be some stuff that James Gunn did in that research that could have inspired his current Superman movie.
Oh, that's just a taste.
And then jumping around to a different topic, I don't know if you remember the crypto Superdog news that was going around. So he basically said on Happy Sad Confused, I considered doing a crypto movie, which I thought would be really fun, but that shows you where my head's at. I wasn't interested in doing a traditional Superman thing, a superpowered dog from Krypton running around a city, destroying it while Superman tries to track him down and get him. That seemed interesting to me. We know how much James Gunn loves animals. I could totally see crypto being a part of his Superman movie. I think that would be...
Being a part of, yes, but I don't need a crypto movie.
Okay, well, I do. But I agree. I don't think...
So disrespectful.
He has said he's not doing that, but I think that it is a smart theory to say that crypto will be part of this somehow.
Soups is probably missing me.
And then finally, he did say in the past that Superman 2 is apparently his favorite DC film. So I guess knowing all of that I just word vomited.
Any of this mean anything to you?
Do you have any theories or any like commentary on what you think he's hinting at with all that?
I do. If only because if you go back to Superman 2, it has a lot of, especially if he mentions crypto, like there's a extended Superman family that you could have that would be part of a world of Superman films, which includes Supergirl and crypto, if you wanted to lean into that. And something that's a significant part of Superman 2, which is like the Fortress of Solitude. It's like embracing all of the things that come with Superman as a comic book character that we didn't get to see through the Henry Cavill interpretation, because they lean so heavily into making him an alien on our Earth, right? But there is a version of Superman where he is embraced by humanity right off the bat, and he becomes this Blue Boy Scout character, and he's able to establish a headquarters here on Earth and make Earth his home almost instantly. And if Gunn is into that side of it, like if he's into embracing the offbeat crypto, you know, having a super dog and something like that, then that's cool. Because again, it's something very different than what we've seen before. You could inject some humor into it without it having to be over the top like Suicide Squad in the way that Gunn really leaned hard into it. And I think it would be fun to have a scene that was included in the movie that showed him interacting with Idris Elba, because I think this pure beam of light, you know, going against Idris Elba's character that we met in Suicide Squad would be a great sort of contradiction. Not to make it the entirety of that movie, but to maybe open with that scene to sort of show that, like, hey, as part of this continuity, we're opening with a scene where an already established Superman is taking care of Bloodsport and putting him away in Suicide Squad. And then we can be like, oh, well, okay, so that's how that character got to where he is going to be. And then the Superman story goes on to where it goes from that point. I think all of this is fascinating. I think when James Gunn was saying that stuff earlier on, he probably didn't assume that he would become the one making the decision.
That or he totally knew and he was just making himself laugh in all these interviews. Because there are a lot of quotes where he's like, that's not my problem, or like, I'm not in charge. And I'm like, how?
But see, when he came over, I think he was really content when he signed up to do the Suicide Squad. I think he was really content to say to them, meaning Warner Brothers at the time, I have an idea for a great movie, you know, and I want to tell this story. And I don't want it to be connected to everything else, but these are the characters that I want to use, and I don't have to worry about continuity, right? Now, maybe working with them, and especially maybe working with Peter Safran as his producer, lured him over to, I do want to tell more stories in this world, but I don't think he went into Suicide Squad with the intention of, I'm going to become DC's new guy.
Right.
No,
I don't think so either. But don't you think that
now,
like probably throughout the course of just like making Suicide Squad, like pre-production to post-production, like he had to have had like some conversations with some people. Like I wonder like if it was known like, oh, like he would be open to this, like the more that he kind of got involved. But
I'm sure. But then what is also, I'm blanking on it, but there's an incredibly crude joke about Superman in Peacemaker.
Superman's an alien. He's got a poop fetish.
What?
Fuck out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Which then, comes around to, this is a guy writing a story that doesn't care about the consequences. Like he's not going to have to answer to that later on, maybe. But if we're in a situation where Gunn is going to, when he unveils his massive plan, if his massive plan includes multiverses, then his Superman can take place in some other universe that we just haven't been able to see yet. And I kind of think that's the direction that we're leaning. I think when James Gunn kicks off, I don't think he's going to decimate the existing universe. I think that the capabilities of them reappearing, those characters reappearing, are still going to be there. But I think he's going to start in a fresh universe. And then we're going to get to a situation where, and this is where you had mentioned in the notes, we're going to get a Kingdom Come story.
Yes, so let's go into some of he's tweeted out comic images. So in the first one, he was just announcing first day at work, which was the secret.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling
very
us
cute,
very plainly, I am writing a Superman movie. That's the priority of the universe first and foremost.
So 2 is Kingdom Come.
So this tweet with the Kingdom Come image just says making plans. And it was on November 30th, and that is when close to the time where we knew that he was, away with Peter Safran finalizing the 8 to 10 year plan before they had a meeting with David Zaslav.
Mr. Zaz, I've had an amazing idea.
So I mean, he could be very well telling us this is what we're building toward, in the way that for those, again, I don't know that anyone's watching this who isn't familiar with comic books, but in the same way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe had the Infinity Saga, this could be the Kingdom Come saga.
Now this is crazy.
What?
But imagine this. In the Kingdom Come story, the Justice League, the core Justice League members have essentially moved on from being superheroes. They've retired. And there's another generation of superheroes who essentially lose their moral compass and start doing things, that are almost as evil as the villains who they're supposed to be going up against, right? And it forces the original characters to come out of retirement and fight this next generation of new characters. So imagine that we build to a movie where
Henry Cavill comes back.
Ben, and Gal come back as the Trinity to fight a new generation of heroes that James Gunn has introduced.
That would keep in track with what both James and Henry said when they announced his departure, is that they're keeping possibilities open to work together in the future. It also tracks with Gal's statement of excited to share her next chapter. That I'm liking that a lot.
What if, and he talked to Ben about directing. What if he says to Ben, hey, you're going to direct the Kingdom Come movie with your 3 characters, with those 3 characters coming back? I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if that's part of an announcement, that is one way for James Gunn to essentially say to the fan base, I told you to trust in me. But then we should also temper expectations by saying that the counterparts over at Marvel do like to name movies certain things and don't necessarily add up to the complete translation.
True.
Infinity War kind of did tell one of these stories that was the Infinity Gauntlet type story that included Thanos trying to gather all the stones. But now that they've announced Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, Secret Wars in particular, is an extremely expansive story that you would need multiple movies to set up essentially. And it could just be a concept. So I even think that Gunn and Peter Safran can come out and say we're building toward a Kingdom Come, movie, essentially. And there's a bunch of things we're gonna have to fill in to get to that point, but that's where we're heading. It might not be a total, true adaptation of Kingdom Come, but it gives you the opportunity to at least do something really cool.
I don't think it should be, because we already have that. Go read the comics. I am not one of those people that is it's not close to the book. Just in general, but I know I'm in the minority, so I will shut up.
No, but that's okay. I am with you in that I think everything that James has shared up until this point means something. I don't think that because he's extremely social media savvy, and he knows that anything he's putting up there is going to be analyzed.
So you don't think he was just oh, this image looks like somebody who's thinking around a table about a bunch of stuff. Let me just post that.
No, I certainly don't, and I don't think anybody should think that.
Oh.
Whereas I think you can have a little bit more fun going to some of the themes that are found in a movie that he helped put out, which is Brightburn. when people saw Brightburn, they viewed it as the darker Superman origin story, right? Like it was all the elements of the Superman story, the boy landing in Kansas essentially, and having these powers, and how does he adopt a family, take care of him, but he chooses to do things wrong instead of doing the right thing. Now, James didn't direct Brightburn, but is an executive producer on it, and I think helped workshop the story. Just goes to show how the early days of Superman and how a decision that you make at that young age. And Zack Snyder tried to touch on this as well too, that you have a decision to make at an early age of all this power, and if you do decide to do the wrong thing with it, how detrimental it could necessarily be.
You just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark, because whoever that man is, good character or bad, he's going to change the world.
So the version of Superman that we just had, Henry Cavill, people criticize for not being the, as you put it, the Boy Scout version of Superman, like Christopher Reeve's version. But like James Gunn, in almost everything he's done thus far, it like doesn't strike me as like his Superman is gonna be more Boy Scout than not. And I guess that's an interesting thing to think about, is like how different from the themes that Zack Snyder explored, because like to me those seem like themes that James Gunn perhaps might be interested in, maybe not executing in the same way, but like exploring at least. And so I guess my question is just like, how do you see that balance sort of working out, just given everything that we know about James Gunn as a screenwriter and a filmmaker?
Have you given any thought to that?
I have, actually.
It's almost like we're going to have to find a middle ground between how does James Gunn's Superman embrace being Superman? Because for the bulk of Man of Steel, Henry Cavill tried to not be Superman, right? Like tried to distance himself as much as he could from it, because he didn't want it to. His father, essentially his adoptive father, told him, like, if you show yourself too soon, they're going to make you an outcast. Like that was the threat. Whereas with Christopher Reeve, in the first movie at the very least, you know, very quickly stepped into the suit and became the protector of the universe. But if James Gunn likes Superman 2 as much as he does, it shows a little bit more of that gray area of, yes, I have these powers, I don't necessarily want them, or I understand the weight that comes with them.
Like I feel like
I think there's a way to do it.
I don't think people are going to be happy if like, because I'm not talking about Snyder fans, because like, I get that we all liked that version. I'm talking about people who are mad about that version. I don't think they're going to be too thrilled about another Superman movie where they don't feel like they get to see Superman. Like that was one of my grievances with Wonder Woman 84, is I was like, we've had one Wonder Woman movie, and the second one, because I don't think Zack Snyder's Justice League had come out at that point. No, it hadn't. It was like, now I'm just seeing her like get beat up, and she's not like, she doesn't get to beat, like I want to see her be Wonder Woman.
The old time.
I could almost see that same argument for like people haven't seen Superman be Superman in so long.
Yeah.
That like, do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, and maybe I'm pulling the wrong thing from Superman 2 anyway, because the other interpretation of Superman 2 is that it has far more action than Superman, the original Superman. Like Superman the movie moves pretty slow.
Yeah.
But in 2, it's Zod and his 2 compatriots, and there's more fighting, even at a 1982 level fighting. But maybe that's one of the things that Gunn is saying, is like, I want to see a Superman in action. I want to see a Superman fighting, you know, a threat through the course of the thing. And I know Man of Steel did that. I know Man of Steel had Henry Cavill fighting against Zod at the end, and it was some of the best Superman fighting we've ever seen. Like it really was terrific. The Kansas fight, all the way through the Metropolis fight, despite all the damage that it created and the lives that were probably lost in Metropolis on that day, it was pretty exciting to see Superman in action, and maybe Gunn's leaning a little bit more in that direction.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. I think there might be a lot of overlap. Again, not in execution, but just in the themes explored between James Gunn's Superman movie and some of what we've seen with what Zack Snyder did. But we will maybe hopefully know next week some more details, because James Gunn has said that in January he's going to announce something, and last week he said soon. And my theory is that they're letting Marvel have this week with all the Ant-Man stuff, and then a lot of what we've seen on Empire you can read about on CinemaBlend. And so next week I'm predicting that we're gonna get something, some morsel of information. Hopefully.
Holding out hope. Do you know we have a DC movie coming in March? Shazam! Fury of the Gods opens in March.
Invisible!
Yes, Shazam!
Huh?
Shazam! Fury of the Gods
Who's
is still
that?
a movie that's coming.
Oh, yeah.
But I do want to. I mean, hopefully, we'll know the announcement. And when the announcement happens, know that we are going to hop on almost immediately and record it, so long as it's like something significant. So keep it here on CinemaBlend. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, turn on your notifications. Whenever Hannah puts up one of these fantastic videos, you guys will be the first ones to come on over here and watch it.